So, some tips and tricks for building a competitive roster in your Dynasty Football League. First of all, you need to know your format. Every format's different, and every team it needs to be constructed differently based on the league's scorings and settings and roster limits. So, some leagues have roster limits, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, whatever. Be aware of those. Don't put yourself in a position where your roster is clogged and other league mates know you're stuck and have to move off people. You will not get adequate value for those players. With that being said, if all that is resolved and it's not an issue, here's what you should do. Make sure you define your studs and who you are going to build around. Let's say you have Jonathan Taylor and CeeDee Lamb. Those are your two guys. You're refusing to trade them. They're off the table. They cannot be moved. Everybody else on your team, let's say you could see a situation where you would move those players. Even if they're good, really good players, you could move up and get better. What you're going to do is identify those people who are fringe, really good players. Take those players with a pick or another good player, package them, and go get an elite player. Make your starting lineup as good as it can possibly be. Do not worry about your bench. You don't get points for your bench being good every week. Make your starting lineup as good as it can be, then build your bench. If you can dominate by getting elite starters when it comes to the fantasy playoffs, if you're making it, your team will be feared. Nobody will want to see you if you have all these elite starters and people are like, well, his bench sucks. Well, guess what? You don't get points for the bench in the fantasy playoffs. So all you have to do, make the playoffs, give yourself a chance. Trade those good and average players, package them to go get an elite player. My rule of thumb when making a trade is I always want to get back the best player in the trade. If I'm giving up 3 players and getting back a top 10 player in fantasy, no problem at all. Do whatever you got to do to get those deals done. You will be thankful when you look at your roster in 3 months and you have 5 or 6 absolute studs that everybody wants. If people stop trading with you because your team is getting too good, that's how you know you're doing something right. So aim for the absolute studs, package your good players and picks, go get an elite starting lineup, and go win your league.